IB is really something that's supposed to help us in the future, not as much just now.
So IB stands for the International Baccalaureate Organization, and it is an educational organization that's found in over 300 countries around the world. There are over 1 million students who are involved in IB, and it really is an internationally focused, highly rigorous academic program. So the thing that makes the middle years program stand out is its approach, right? So the first thing you should understand is that the middle years program is not a curriculum. It is a sort of holistic view about how to teach. And so our students are still very much immersed in the Baltimore City Public Schools curriculum, but we're doing it in a different way. So IB focuses on three things. One, making sure that students are engaging in holistic learning, that students are practicing communication, and that students are taking an interdisciplinary and an intercultural approach to education. So one of the things that makes IB unique is the assessment portion of it, right? Whereas most school systems do traditional grading in a grade book where you might have 20 grades for a quarter, IB and MYP is really focused on criterion-based grading. And what that means is we are grading skills and not necessarily independent work.
Mr. Bates was probably one of my favorites because I really like the way that he taught math and he kind of could relate to us.
So the big difference between the IB middle years program and other middle grades curriculum I see for my child is that I love how the IB middle years program really lets students look at the connections between different subject areas, which is a really natural way, I think, for kids to learn.
The IB is growing across the country, but we are very unique in being one of only 3 middle schools in Baltimore City that are currently practicing IB. And we're one of only 2 middle schools that have full accreditation in the middle years program. That also means that our assessments look different. We aren't just taking multiple choice tests here at the Mount Washington School. We're doing interactive assessments where students are doing hands-on experiments. Students are going into the community to do field work, to study in the real world. In our English classes, we're doing Socratic seminars. We're doing presentations to work on public speaking and communication. In our math classes, we aren't just doing worksheets, but we're doing interactive, collaborative experiments using math thinking. Also in our science and design classes, students are learning to build and use the scientific method and scientific inquiry to discover new things in science and design.
So it's funny. My husband and I had no intentions of putting our kids in an IB program. It's not that there's anything wrong with IB. We just figured they would do what we did and just go through and take, just the regular course of classes. What we learned is that IB has gotten Kenya more exposure to the world as it exists. So it's a less, Americentric curriculum. So, less focused on what's going on right here in the U.S. and more about what's going on in the world and how the world impacts what's happening here. So it's actually been a great experience for her. She has had an opportunity to sort of sample other countries and kind of figure out what life is like for folks in other parts of the world, and I think it's also kind of shaped how she thinks, and it's shaped some of the conversations that we have at home. So instead of just like what's going on in United States politics, which is important, I think it's also been fantastic that she's had much earlier exposure to Africa and to parts of Latin America than my husband and I did. I think we talked one night and kind of figured out that it was probably in college or maybe in high school that we started to see more of the world. And so I love the IB program for just exposing her to the fact that folks in the U.S. are not in this by themselves.
I like the emphasis on skill development. I feel like my student has become more independent and more organized. Since he's been doing the middle years program, he seems to be a lot more self-directed.
The majority of our students who came from Mount Washington excelled when they got to the high school level because they had been trained in how to think on their own, how to think through difficult problems, how to collaborate with others in order to solve problems. Those are skills that high school teachers expect students to be able to come to their classrooms with, and they get that foundation through the middle years program here at Mount Washington. I've had several students who've come back to talk about the impact that IB has had to help prepare them to be successful academically at schools like University of Virginia, Yale, University of Maryland, College Park, Johns Hopkins, Spelman, Morehouse, schools literally around the country. They recognize the rigor that comes from IB, and many of them give our students college credits for taking on the IB program.
So I would recommend the program really for two sets of parents. One, we've lived in the community, and my son has gone to the school since kindergarten, and it has been such an important part of his social development that he walks to school with his friends that he's had since kindergarten. But I would also recommend it for students who are just coming here for middle school, because they become integrated in the fabric of an already strong community school. I think that students are welcome to build new friendships and establish new relationships that really kind of it's small enough that I feel like the student won't feel like they're getting lost here. They're still going to get the individual attention, but they'll also still have the opportunity to really grow and be who they are as an individual.
I think I have other friends who have been concerned over the years about whether or not their kid was going to be ready for a competitive high school program. I have no doubt that, my kid could easily go to City if she were more interested in STEM, that, she could go to Poly, that, she would be prepared for Western. So one of the things that I love about the IB program is that it is truly preparing her for next steps.
Why would you not want to be in the IB program?